Welcome to Silk Pod. We are discussing episode 9 of Love is Blind US season 10. This is the last of the three episodes of this recent batch that Netflix dropped for this season. We start off jumping right in with Jess and Chris. I thought this conversation was over last episode, but Netflix is really stretching this. Um, we go back to the conversation with this couple. Well, not a couple anymore, but Chris says that he thought he could get past the sex. Yeah, he clearly hates her. And how is she not bitch slapping him at this point? She shows a lot of restraint, just listening to him just go on and on and on about what type of girls he's attracted to. And he has the nerve to mention his number two, and he makes it very clear that he hasn't gone and seen her, but she's been on his mind, and sometimes wonder what could have been if he pursued things with her. And that, he's just spitballing with her and letting her know what's on his mind, as if this is appropriate at all. Even for a breakup, you would not bring this up, in my opinion. That was ruthless and out of control, man. Um, Jess understandably gets a little teary eyed and tells him it is hard to hear these things. Chris says he figured it would be hard to hear. How dare he? And And then he goes on about he just can't imagine dealing with this sex that he's not enjoying for 5, 10, 15 years ahead, basically. But this doesn't apparently negate the connection they had in the pods, which in retrospect now feels very fake. Now that we see Chris's true colors coming out these past two episodes. Um, Chris has the nerve in this conversation to tell um, Jess that he doesn't want to be sad about this moment and that he wants to keep trying because they do have fun. How is Jess supposed to respond to that? And why is Chris saying, oh, wow, when she's like, how are we supposed to have fun after he basically rips her a new one about how he truly feels about her, which is all negative and basically about her physical looks. Um, there was a social media post somewhere in reaction to Chris, and obviously everyone hates him for those who watched the recent episodes. I'm trying to remember what comment it was that I read. Oh, that some people feel that Chris suddenly has some kind of inferior complex or something because Jess is very well off and has a really nice home and everything. And I felt like that's an interesting insight. And I feel like there is some truth to that. Um, yeah, because it does feel like a whole switch up, but I also feel like it's possible that Chris was just playing it up this whole time, and he just had enough of uh dealing with the experiment. That's actually not an experiment anymore because looks and sex are a huge thing for him apparently. Then why'd you go on the show, dude? Um, Understandably, just felt blindsided because of this the drastic change in attitude Chris shows to her. She says that she's not going to beg for his love if he does not find her body hot. Agree, girl. She obviously cries on camera, but she says that she will be okay and she only needs a partner if he will just make her life a better than it already is. Amen to that, girl. Um, we switched up to the interview moment with Chris that I could really care less about. But why did he use the word fornicate to talk about sex? That gives me the ick, honestly. And he says that he's probably more attracted to Brie. Like, why does he keep saying this? Does he not realize this is on television? Um, he thought he could say these things to Jess without being seen as the bad person. Um, yeah, this just keeps getting worse and worse. I have no words for this man boy at this point. I don't know why he thinks that if for some reason Jess is going to listen to all of that and say yes, we can keep trying to the end of the experiment where they decide to get married. Hell no, if you have some self-respect, which Jess obviously does. What a start to the episode, right? Um Finally, we switch away from this mess to Bree and Connor, of course. They're having a jokey moment at the apartment. But Connor does comment that Bree can be a bit mean sometimes. And I know some girls flirt in that way. They really do. And I used to have that issue when flirting with people. Um, but you gotta learn where boundaries are and where people's sensitivities are. So I definitely felt for Connor for a bit there. They do some cooking. I guess this is the first moment where they cook together, and obviously Connor is a mess. We already know that based on what we've seen of him so far. He comments almost to himself that he can be an idiot sometimes. And he clarifies he's never been a fraternity before, even though Bree thinks that his house is basically a frat house, which it is to be fair. Um, and then we end that conversation with them both getting texts from Chris and Jess. The boys texting the boys and the girls texting the girls about the breakup. Um, yeah, crazy way to transition there. We finally move on from that for a moment to the date with Ash and Alex. I love pop-up golf, so this would be a perfect date. It's like a virtual golf thing. But this is a very brief scene where Ashley says that they're back to the old times where before the fight, and basically CC had her sexual frustrations resolved. Good for her, girl. Um, still still have my eyes on Alex though. This does not mean that all is well. We switch to Christine and Vic. I guess they go to the university that Vic is a professor at, which is cool. Um, she visits the classroom, empty classroom, um, to see where he teaches. And then we transition to a drive to Hillsboro, Ohio, which is where Christine grew up. She used to be insecure about this. Um, but if she's going to marry Vic and trust him with the rest of her life, then she feels, and I agree, that she should show this part of her life with him. Yeah, Vic is very sweet in this moment. They feed some horses. Apparently it's the first time he has interacted with a horse, which is really cute. And it looks like they're both very comfortable and happy with each other. We definitely needed this little wholesome moment in this crazy episode. We quickly switch over then to Amber and Jordan. They meet Jordan's family, including his mom and sisters, who mentioned that Jordan is basically the baby brother of the family. Yeah, I felt the conversation was a bit awkward, but I feel it's just the vibe of the family. I could definitely see similarities with Jordan and his siblings and mom. They in the date here they connect on how Jordan's sister also has a boy the same age as Amber's child. They talk about how Jordan hasn't met Emma, which is Amber's kid. We're not talking about the Mike State. We're talking about the kid Amber has. But Jordan has met and is amicable with the father of the child. They quickly talk about kids, and Jordan again mentions, but now to his family, that it's the first time where he's considering that maybe kids is an option after all for him. Um, yeah, I think this was a little cute moment. and hopefully they will make it to the end. Because I have very little hope for some of the other couples here. We switch here to Brittany and Devante. One thing that I will say about Devante is that he looks like he's a very, very good cook, because that food, I'm eyeing on that for sure. He does make a little jokey about how he prepared her a medium rare chicken. And I see some flirtations there, which is cute. Of course, in the back of my mind, we're thinking about how Devante has been acting this season. So we are cautiously watching this wholesome moment. Of course, Brittany talks again, even though she says she's uncomfortable bringing this up time and time again, but it's so important that, you know, see, in the past so far, Devante has not been physically initiated a lot of touching and sex with her, right? And now she's voicing that she wishes Devante could show some love with her with words of affirmations. Yeah, yeah. I don't believe Devante has attractions to Brittany, because he then goes into this whole word salad of how Brittany commented one time at the trip when he complimented her bathing suit or something, and now he doesn't want to come across as not genuine when he does compliment her physical looks, because they'll seem like he's doing that because you just told him to do that. Okay, but Devante, she's telling you she wants to hear more of these things, so please give her that if you actually love her. Um, for some reason, Brittany takes this all in and says that perhaps she is projecting some of her insecurities from past relations onto him and apologizes about that. I don't. At first, when I watched this scene, I was like, oh, maybe there's some good progress happening between these two. Now that I'm thinking about it more, I think Devante is just making more and more excuses of why he doesn't provide the things that Brittany is asking for, which is not much. Like, she wants a little snuggle, she wants a little butt slap, maybe. She wants him to tell her how beautiful she is and stuff, which he does towards the end with her voluptuous eyelashes. But like, um, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this couple, but we'll just move on because I have nothing else to say. Connor talks to Chris in this weird scene. Um, and Chris starts off with saying that basically, I forgot his girl's name. But basically the girls, they broke up with each other and that she didn't take it well and that she can't be around him. Connor seems very clueless in this scene because it looks like he just takes Chris's word for it and doesn't realize that he's not telling the whole truth of the actual bullshit that he was telling his partner before breaking up. Um yeah, because then Connor, he's such a sweet boy. Connor talks about, well, maybe you could write down how you actually feel in a text message and give her some time to think over it and whatever, if Chris wants to move forward, which he clearly doesn't. And if Chris actually put all his feelings on paper and sent it to the girl that he broke up with because she doesn't do Pilates every day or whatever he said, um it would be an asshole move, because it's definitely not love. Yeah. Um, After that point, we switch to Ashley and Alex. They finally meet Alex's mom. Uh, I wrote so much stuff, but I'm gonna cut it short because I have mixed feelings about this mom. I definitely get the same vibe of where Alex is getting this whole nomadic idealistic life from. I don't know, something's just really off about this family, I guess, just from the conversation here. Um, yeah, because they mention about the water bottle fiasco, and then the mom's definitely siding with her son on everything. And I just don't like it when I understand parents are always supportive of their child and whatever, but I don't think the mom can ever see that Alex can have any fault. Maybe I'm looking at it too deeply, but I just can't have any empathy for Alex at this point, and how the mom is doesn't make me feel any better about this. The mom does tell Ashley about how Alex was mourning um the loss of being a soccer athlete, and that she understands that her son should not have a regimented almost confining job and finances, and that his true passion is in continuing to be a soccer coach. And then they talk about Alex's past relationships, and something about cheating and disloyalty and all that stuff, which becomes vital later on in this episode. Um, I'm gonna move on from this because I just can't. I just can't have any empathy for Alex, regardless of his past, uh, so-called bad experiences, because, uh, yeah, the stuff Ashley's dad said during the meetup in the previous episode just hits me more and more here, that Alex has answers to every question in a sense, but there's just some sort of dishonesty underlining everything that I can't just believe. I can't believe anything right now, when it comes to him, and honestly extending that to his mom as well. Um, then we switch to Emma and Mike. We finally meet Emma's family and sister, and and yeah, and later on the niece and nephew, which becomes an annoying point. Um, yeah, the whole conversation becomes about kids, but it's so good to listen, especially to Emma's sister, but also her parents, in talking about respecting Emma's wishes and decisions regarding kids. Um, yeah, I thought that was a really good conversation to have. Emma's sister clarifies that while she doesn't regret necessarily having kids, and it's a wonderful experience, because Mike does ask her, well, you don't regret having kids, right? It's a wonderful thing. Of course it is. And it was not a gotcha moment he thought it was, because his sister clarifies, but if she was given an opportunity to have another life, she would not have kids. She would want to try and have a life of independence, because there's beauty in that too, which is so nice to hear from the sister. And also the mom, because the mom says that while she would love to be a grandmother, um it she also needs to everyone needs to respect, that perhaps Emma does not want to have kids, and that's not where her heart is at. And Emma even admits that she does not have that maternal instinct, which Mike kind of jumps in and says like, well, but you care for your pet. But obviously a pet and a child are two different things. um Emma does talk about the genetic concerns, about passing that on to potential kids. Her dad, understandably asks if that's really the only reason why she doesn't want to have kids, which is a good call out. But Emma does bring up the fact about her insecurities and feelings being adopted, and even though she was like a cheerful kid with friends at school, she was always self-conscious about that and her scars on her arm, which her parents seem to have been surprised about. And it shows that Emma is good at masking her actual feelings, which also gets into the deeper concern of if Emma decides to have kids with Mike and resents it, and hates it and regrets it, that she would not show those true feelings, which is a concern. So hopefully Mike can actually come to terms with the fact that most likely Emma will not be a mother to his children. Um, yeah, it was really annoying when the niece and nephew came out and Mike just said like, "Why wouldn't you want this? Isn't this nice? Wouldn't this make you feel like kids are great?" I hate that because recently this actually happened to me too, where well, not recently, but I remember I went to this event and there was this guy I'm not even friends with at the party, and he was like, "Oh, will you and Neil have kids eventually?" And I didn't answer anything. Oh, Neil's my boyfriend, and he was like, You should definitely have kids. Kids are the best thing." And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, respectfully, it's not your place to say that. Like, I'm actually a little pissed off that you would bring that up because at the end of the day, you know, kids are a big commitment, and that's just a conversation that should really just be between two partners. That's my true feelings around that. um Anyways, let's move on. We go from here. Where are we? We go to Bree and Connor. Okay. They meet Connor's sisters and parents. Um yeah, Connor was actually kind of adorable here. He was all smiles and very happy. They do get into a conversation about Connor's house and how there's only a hook on the door and whatever. The mom kind of defends Connor's. It's like, hey, his just been a solo guy, so his house is gonna reflect that. But it's cute. Oh, no, I'm mixing up all the conversations. That's not what they talk about here. Sorry. I'm all hanged up about Connor's house. In this moment, Bree talks about how it's been a transition because she's been so used to being an independent woman that lives on her own and like takes care of herself when she's down. And that she actually appreciates that Connor is actually picking up on a lot of emotional cues, um, which is awesome, right? That Connor has that ability to pick up people's sensitivities. And she's been open to Connor about fertility and checking her fertility and stuff like that, which is great. And that Connor Connor got a mustache for her. Looks good, Connor. Looks good. Yeah. So on the surface here, it looks like Bree and Connor is a strong couple, and of course, the parents give their approval of Bree. But I don't know how this couple will be. Through no fault of Connor, it's all on Bree about how committed she actually is for this. Um, because I feel like she's just uh dragging this when really in the back of her mind, she might still be thinking about Chris, which is insanity. Um, yeah, let's move on from that. Awkward. We go to Ashley and Alex. Um, Ashley actually does what her father did with Alex, which is fantastic. She starts to actually ask questions, and Alex says that he can absolutely share all the information about exes. Um, his story was very confusing, so I'm not gonna try and break it down like other people on social media has. Um, yeah, he fails to mention this other ex that's a traveling nurse or whatever that apparently he's still friends with, and it looks like he recently hooked up with, and then the timelines were confusing, but it looked like Ashley had her little father's lawyer hat on and was like, wait, things look like it's overlapping. She clarifies she's not trying to get him into a gotcha moment. She's just trying to clarify and making sure that Alex has never cheated in the past because for her cheating is a big deal breaker. And Alex clarifies, no. He has never cheated and he never will cheat on her and that he got her. Lies, 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 lies. He He speaks with so much confidence, but he does not know how to tell the truth. Oh boy. This couple has been over, but this is just showing more and more that this couple is in the dumps. Okay. Okay. I'm just taking a moment here because of the craziness of Netflix and how they ended this episode and these batch of episodes 7, 8, and 9. Um At first, I thought this was like a boys' night out or something, but it's not. This is the one where everyone, including the ones who didn't get engaged, all meet together. But the way things were edited, we don't really get to see conversations with Kia. We don't see conversations with Kevin, which actually, thank God, because as soon as Kevin popped up on the screen, I'm like, I don't want to see this boy. I don't want to see this boy on the screen. I don't want to hear his voice and his boring clothes and no. No, 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 no. So I'm glad Netflix cut him out, and I hope to never see him again on this show. Or actually any other show. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. And I'm glad that Steven was also not even visually shown. Who knows if he popped up or not. Anyways, oh, I am glad that Vic and Christine actually finally meets everyone as well because it was crazy how Netflix split that one couple to a different location. Uh, whatever. Um, yeah, this whole reunion thing is really centered on Chris. Like there were some other things happening, but the main thing was how Chris was behaving in general to everyone, which is insanity. Insanity. I think part of it is him being drunk. I think Chris was drunk for this whole time, but he was just saying, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start. Do we start with I'm so sorry, guys. I just don't know. Let me just look at my notes here. Um, so apparently Chris asked Bree to call him after she followed him on this Instagram thing or whatever. It's so hard to follow here. I have so many rambles and notes out here. Apparently Chris created a new Instagram account after the breakup with Jess. And he bought a bunch of followers from Mexico. And the first photo apparently that everyone screenshotted and sent to Jessica was a strip club, and this stripper, I guess, dancing on his lap. Um, Apparently this was the first day after breaking up with the fiance. So much for wanting to see this experiment to the end, Chris boy. Um, wow. Oh, and I wow, I skipped this part where just when she joins everyone, all the girls are like, "Have you been working out? Your body looks so good." And like they're shouting it so that Chris can hear them. And of course he keeps saying like, "Oh, I don't give a flying fuck what other people think." Blah 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 blah. Okay. Um yeah, that was fantastic. And I absolutely loved Amber um this whole time cuz she was very much like, I don't like Chris. I don't like men like that. Um he's too short to be acting that cocky. I usually don't like to pick on people's heights or insecurities or looks, but I think you can absolutely rip Chris a new one because of the fact that he did that shit to his fiance. Unbelievable. He's not even that attractive. He's so basic looks wise. So I I shouldn't say that that's mean of me, but I just zero respect for Chris. It's not even respect. He disgusts me during this whole time. Um yeah. Oh, and the fact that Amber goes up to Chris when he's like all over Jordan's be like, "Oh, you're like perfect for each other and you're both crazy and you're the only couple that's probably going to actually get married and wants to get married." and Jordan wants to be amicable and everything. Oh, Jordan, no, you don't need to do that. But Amber's like, yeah, I hate you a little bit. Um, and 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 if another hot nurse or something is something he wants to date, savage. But love that for her. Um, yeah, the girls show that they hate Chris, but I think the only genuine girl's girl is Amber here, because the other girls do talk to Chris in like a hear me out moment, which is unbelievable. I if I was there, I would be on the same page as Amber. Like, there is, don't give him the time of day. Um the thing that really, really bothers me was, I guess they were mic'd up. Chris and Mike was in the men's bathroom, and Chris says blatantly that Bree is hot, and what is Connor going to do? Slap him, beat him up, or whatever? And Mike's like, yeah, 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 yeah. Mike, I don't see anyone else in the commentary saying this, but I'm like, Mike, why are you laughing along with this douchebag? Like, uh, maybe he's just trying to keep the peace and just laughing along with it, but I hate that. I hate that. I hate that usually in these situations, the girls that calls out the guys when it's really like, no, other guys should also call out on shitty behavior. Honestly, that kind of made me actually not like Mike very much for just listening and laughing about that with Chris. Yeah, that was weird. Um, there's this weird situation towards the end of the episode where Chris is talking to three girls, uh, with Bree, Priyanka, and what's her name, Ashley. Um, Connor comments from across the room that Chris has been saying the word flying fuck like 4 times already and is super annoyed with it. I am too. Um, Chris, while he's doing this hear him out session with the three girls in front of him, he talks about how he needs someone who does Pilates, and he starts raising his voice about this. And he talks about how he has dated an attractive woman before who doesn't do Pilates or that kind of stuff, but does ballet and is really fit or whatever. And basically, he says that the sex was the worst or something. I don't know if it was this part or earlier, but he definitely did say the sex was the worst with her, which is really fucked up. Why did he say that? Why would he? I just don't understand Chris, and he doesn't want to be seen as the bad guy. Dude, you're doing this to yourself. Like, you just need to shut up and just not do anything. He's just digging a bigger and bigger hole for himself. Um, and then this whole weird thing where the two girls leave Bree and Chris together. Bree should have left, but she entertains him. I think Bree likes Chris, or she likes the attention, because Chris laughs about Connor, talks about how Connor is submissive and he's not submissive, and that if he brought up the temperature in the pods, why didn't you, Chris? Why didn't you? If he brought up the temperature in the pods, Connor wouldn't even be in existence. What is he talking about? And that Chris acknowledges that Connor will do all the things and say yes to marriage and clean the house and all that stuff. Um, but that's not what's best for her, as if what does Chris know about what's best for anyone at this point? Look at yourself, dude. um and at the very end he says that he wants to do marriage or engagement with Bree and that she's hot and that he would propose to her. uh Someone stop this man. uh That's crazy. That's crazy. I really hope, um, yeah. I wish Connor stepped in, actually. I know some people will say that, no, it's good that Connor didn't step in so that we see Chris's full colors. But we already know. We already know. I think Connor should have stepped in because at this point, Bree is not the type to shut things down. I thought she was the worst for the pool party scene episodes ago, but Chris has really turned a whole 180 and really showed us the true depth of how he really is. Um, yeah, what a crazy episode. The next few episodes will be out on Wednesday of next week, so we will see how the craziness plays out and who actually gets married. Interesting episode. Um, hope you enjoyed the season so far, and I will see you on the next one.